So I'm gonna take you guys through the phase that Saeed became an alcoholic, the alcoholic Saeed, and that phase lasted for about a year, right? And I was pretty much an alcoholic. Like, what is the definition of alcoholic? It's someone who is addicted to alcoholic beverages, right? Feels the need to consume them regularly. And I was drinking alcohol, some form of an alcoholic beverage, almost every day. And it lasted for about a year. So I don't want to talk shit about alcohol here, and I don't want to promote it. I'm just gonna tell you guys my experience with it. So first of all, to give you guys a background, I grew up as a Muslim. I grew up in a very, and I want to emphasize the word very, strict Muslim environment, very strict Muslim family, very strict Muslim country, and alcohol is outlawed. It's forbidden to consume in Islam, right? So you can imagine, if you grew up in a strict environment, in a strict family, and you were Muslim, you were basically taught the ways of Islam, then you would really look at alcohol as some kind of a demon never to be touched. And as with anything that is forbidden, as with anything that is outlawed, as with anything that is repressed, the human curiosity is gonna wanna at some point go down that route. Now, I prior to university, I never drank. You know, I stayed true to that. You know, I've always wanted to drink. I've seen my friends in high school drink, but I've always, you know, still at that time, you know, I was still scared. What if I go to hell? What if my parents find out? So I would still exercise self-control on the alcohol part and say, no, this is haram, right? Haram means you can't do it. And, you know, my opinions on religion and a lot of things were changing at the time. But I was still, you know, pretty much still a Muslim and still following most of the rules. So I told myself, no, you can't do it. But of course, I'm curious. I'm curious by nature, right? I'm very curious by nature. I'm very explorative by nature, very curious. I mean, if you guys have seen these videos, you've seen I'm a very curious person. That some of the topics I talk about, my experimentation with psychedelics, and my upcoming heavy experimentation phase with DMT, it's coming up soon. You guys are going to see a lot of DMT videos here, trip reports. I'm very curious by nature, so I was bound to try it at some point, right? And university comes, and everybody wants to get drunk in university, right? Want to go out on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays, 3 days of the week, and get drunk. So, you know, I was still resisting the urge in first semester, but I surrendered to that urge second semester university. I was like 18 at the time, and had a little bit to drink, and I absolutely fucking hated it. I hated the taste, you know. First thing I tried wasn't beer, it was vodka, right? And I just felt like shit, man. Felt like shit. But after like an hour and a half, and the effects started to kick in, all that repression started to come out. Now, just to give you a little bit of background, oh my god, I don't know if you guys can see this, like this view behind me right now. Yeah, you can't see it, never mind. Wow. Okay, just to give you guys a background, I was shy at the time, right? Very much shy with girls, like wouldn't even look them, like I wouldn't even really look them in the eye, right? Because I was so shy, and I get nervous easily around girls, especially girls, right? Not so much guys, because I grew up around guys, right? But girls. So fuck, I have a drink for the first time, and this extroverted person comes out, and you know, starts to make crack jokes, and you know, we go out, and I start to flirt with chicks, like very openly, very extroverted, in a very extroverted manner. And I was like, this is fucking good, you know, this is fucking good, you know, because this is like, I'm getting to see a side of me that has been repressed for so long, using a substance that has been repressed for me for so long. You know, it's made out to be a demon, and it's the forbidden fruit. So here I am under the influence of the forbidden fruit. Here I am doing things that I never, like, I always wished I can do. Extroversion, talking to girls, flirting, and just being outgoing overall. So I liked it, of course. I liked the feeling of it, despite the fact that I felt like shit for the first hour and I couldn't get that taste out of my mouth. But once the effects kicked in, all that was gone. And I actually had a lot to drink that night. My first ever night drinking. I had a lot to drink, like a lot. And I threw up. I threw up like fucking disgusting, man. I threw up so much. Because I was drinking hard liquor. Like just after chugging a few shots of vodka in the beginning, I kept chugging down. I'm like, this is, I felt good. So I just wanted to drink more and more and more and more. So I threw up a lot after. I've had a horrific hangover the next day, but needless to say, I liked the person that I was for these few hours that I was under the influence of the alcohol before the throwing up came and all the negative consequences. I liked it. And so I drank a few more times, and that was that for that first year university. Second year university, I got my own place, because first I was with roommates in first year, and they were also, you know, Muslim, and drinking was still not something I even shared with them, right? Or told them that I do. Second year, I got my own place, my own apartment, and I have my own fridge, and so I started to go out and drink, and I used to buy beer and put it in my fridge. Okay, so for that entire year, anytime you walked into my house, there was always beer in the fridge. And I started to go out every Thursday, every Friday, every Saturday and get heavily drunk and go to clubs. Now, I did that all of second year, 3 days a week, at least 2 days, you know, at least 2 days, if I felt like it, 3 days. Heavy drinking on weekends, and then during the week, I'd have a beer or two at night. So, I mean, that kind of, not a hardcore alcoholic, but it's, I mean, you're getting close to it, right? I mean, 3 days of the week, you're getting fucking drunk out of your mind, and then for the other 3-4 days, maybe sometimes I wouldn't do it for a day or two, you know, you're still drinking at night. Yeah, I was starting to become addicted to the substance, and I was starting to become addicted to the person that I was under the influence of the substance. You see, I loved the freedom that it gave me to talk to chicks, specifically. To talk to chicks and to stand up for myself and just be myself around my friends. Because at the time, you know, you're still stuck in this ego structure. You're still stuck in the personality. You want to view yourself to your friends as a certain way. You want to come off to your friends as a certain way. So even the whole time around my friends, I never felt comfortable in my skin. And I never felt comfortable around my friends. I never did. Because I would always be thinking, you know, are they gonna make fun of me now? Is this the right thing to say? How do I make myself smarter than them? How do I show them that I'm the shit, I'm the boss? But when I get drunk, I didn't give a fuck. I just kind of, inhibitions are loosened. I didn't give a fuck. I was more raw with them. If one of my friends talked shit to me, I'd stand up for myself. Then we'd go out, I'd be flirting with chicks and making out and, you know, all of that. I was like, wow, this is dancing and stuff, you know. I was like, I like the person that I am under the influence of the alcohol. And so that's why I started to get addicted to it. Now, at some point during this phase, you know, it's such an emotional roller coaster when you're constantly drinking, because there will be a lot of times, just as much of the good times that you experience, the extroversion, you know, being yourself more, loosen inhibitions, there would be the times where you feel like a completely worthless person. And I had quite a few of those where I would, you know, drink at home. So certain weekends I just feel absolutely terrible about the person that I am. I would come to realize that this alcohol is just not doing anything for me. It's masking the problem. How come after I come down from the alcohol, I'm back to the same old miserable, shy, reserved, not confident, not expressive person that I am. And so that would set me on a negative cycle of thinking. And then sometimes I wouldn't go out on weekends. Instead of going out, I would drink in on Fridays and Saturdays. And now, you know, when you're a college student, there is a massive pressure on you, and not just a college student, anybody. There is a massive pressure on you to do something on Fridays and Saturdays, right? Let's go out clubbing, let's go out this, let's go out that. So some weekends I would just stay in and I would drink by myself hard liquor, right? I was into hard liquor mostly, and then beers would usually be during the week. And I would fucking cry, man. I'd have like one of those angry, sad drunks, and I'd just be sitting there. It's Friday night, it's 11 p.m. I'm drunk out of my mind, and I'd be crying, man. Swear to God, I'm not fucking around here. I'm not kidding. I'd be crying. I'd be there crying because I felt so miserable, because I felt so anxious, because I felt like I was cursed with so many things, with to be an insecure person forever, to be stuck in my negative thoughts forever, who I thought I was, the personality, which at the time I didn't think much of. I thought I was a worthless piece of shit. That's the truth. And so I was self-medicating with the alcohol because it just brought that other side out of me that I would like to see more of. But it brought that side with a lot of negative consequences, because I would always feel like I mean, eventually, this bouts of drinking by myself, I think, resulted from me damaging my body so much from constantly drinking that at some point I said, I don't want to go out. I feel too miserable in my body, in my mind, and I just drink at home instead and cry myself. Just cry at the misery of the person that I was. This is a true story, guys. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not exaggerating. And this was the period where I was just drinking by myself and in the weekends and crying, where the second part of this year, the second part of this phase. The first part of the phase was the going out part, getting drunk with people, making out with chicks, blah, blah, blah. And of course, the second part was me fucking myself up from the alcohol use and from this schizophrenic way that I was, where I was a completely different person under the influence of alcohol and completely different person otherwise, and eventually with damaging my body so much with repeated use. Of course, I was eating like shit. Everything else was just, you know, there was no cold showers at the time. I was a completely different person, like a completely different person, 180 degrees different. There was no cold showers. I wasn't eating healthy. I wasn't exercising. Like, I wasn't doing anything right. So for the second part of the year, every weekend, Friday, Saturday, fucking get some vodka. Vodka was my preferred drink. And just cry myself, just fucking miserable, you know, this, and this. After the year ended, the summer came, and I wanted to make some changes in my life. I decided that I would just keep alcohol for occasions, right? I had like a burst of positivity and optimism, and I thought to myself, I just keep it for occasions, right? So from that point on, I would not drink much. You know, I'd maybe go out once a month, once every couple of months for the next couple of years in university, next 2-3 years, right? And that's when I started really delving into philosophy, personal development, and eventually, after years and years, this is years ago, right? After years and years, leading to the person that I am in front of you today, that is, again, has literally almost nothing to relate to that person, to that version of Saeed. And it's funny to me how fragile the ego structure is, because, you know, I had a certain ego, a certain personality at the time. Now look, I'm a completely different ego structure in front of you, a completely different person, a personality, a mask, a character. I'm completely different. But in 10 years from now, I'll be a different person. I'll be a different character. I'll be a different personality. And, you know, this goes to show you how fragile this idea of the ego, the personality is, because it's always changing. and then you realize who you really are underneath it all is not the person, it's not the story, it's not the personality. You're the awareness. I am the same person. I am the different person, but I am the same essence. I was the awareness at the then. Sorry, I was the awareness back then. I'm losing my words here. I was the awareness back then, having the experience of getting drunk every weekend, having this schizophrenic train of thoughts, having all these issues bubble up, having these experiences, and oh my god, I'm just experiencing a deja vu right now. Fuck, I might have seen, I don't know, what is a deja vu? Did I see this in a dream? Right now is a deja vu. I just had to mention it. Fuck, that's crazy. So, yeah, life is trippy, guys. Life is trippy. Fuck, what was I saying? Yeah, okay. So I was the awareness experiencing what it's like to be Saeed at the time. What it's like to be getting drunk every weekend and every day, and having to deal with all these psychological issues and childhood traumas and feelings of worthlessness and lack of love. And now I am the awareness experiencing Saeed, talking about Saeed from the past, and Saeed talking about the experience of being the awareness beneath it all. I'm just experiencing. I'm the awareness. I'm the loving awareness. I'm not the personality. I'm not the character. These are all transient and changing. And anything that is always constantly changing cannot be the real you. The real you is ever present. It's always there. It's just observing. It's awareness. Then I made the decision sometime in 2011, 2012. I really can't remember. I want to say 2012. Yeah, because I got in university 2009. 2010 was the year that I got mixed up with the alcoholic phase. 2011 I kept drinking. 2012 I was drinking, I think, up until later that year. So let's say around 2013. Let's say around 2013 I made the decision. Yeah, 2013. I remember. 2013. I made the decision not to drink alcohol anymore, not to ingest alcoholic beverages, and I think ever since then I might have had like 2 sips of wine, and I guess my body's too much of a pussy to handle alcohol anymore. I couldn't handle it. Like I was like, I can't, I'm sorry, I wanted to drink it, but I couldn't drink it. You know, I guess I could handle it, but my body just rejected it. It didn't want it, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go with my body here. I as much as I wanted to drink it, but ever since 2013 I had like 2 sips of wine, and I just can't really, my body doesn't want it anymore. It just rejects the alcohol. Like I don't want to drink, you know. I have zero inclination to drink at this point. My body rejects it. My body knows it's a poison. My mind knows it's a poison. My experience with alcohol was mostly negative, and probably because it was mostly negative, it sort of affects my decision making when it comes to alcohol, because, you know, it's very easy for me to be around alcohol and not drink a single drink. In fact, not to want to drink a single drink. And of course, as I quit, with everything, when you quit, you start to judge other people for doing it. I went through the phase, just like when I quit smoking, because I was smoking, and anybody who's done smoking, who smoked and drinks at the same time, you know that combination is fucking good when you're drunk and you smoke cigarettes, right? I was doing all these negative shit before. Not that I want to judge anybody for it, okay? But what I'm trying to say is, when I quit, I started to judge people who drank. Just like when I stopped smoking, I started to judge people who smoke. I think you have to go through that phase, but your higher self will remind you to love everyone and look beneath the act, beneath the personality, beneath your moral judgment on whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, and just love the other person, because you're looking at yourself, right? So that's my phase. That's alcoholic Saeed for you guys. And yeah, that's about it. Hopefully this experience entertained you. The storytelling entertained you. Hopefully it can help you with any sort of addiction that you might have. And I guess maybe now I'm addicted to some different substance, if you guys know what I mean. And as always, don't forget to subscribe or you're gonna sleep with the fishes.